All right, this is Advanced Lesson 3, Number Concepts. So here are some facts about factors. An integer is a factor of itself, except for 0, which has no factors. 1 is a factor of all integers, except for 0. An integer's largest factor, other than itself, will not be greater than 1/2 the value of the integer. All good things to know. Here are some shortcuts for factoring that I'm sure that you know, but let's just review them. If a number is divisible by 2, if 2 goes into it evenly, then it has to be an even number, ends in 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. To divide it by 3 evenly, if you add up the integers, and the sum you can divide by 3, that means you can divide the whole number by 3. Divisible by 4 if the last two digits can be divisible by 4. You can divide it by 5 if it ends in a 5 or a 0. You can divide it by 6 if you can divide it by 2 and a 3. You can divide it by 8 if the last 3 digits represents a multiple of 8. I don't use that rule. Divisible by 9 if you add the digits and its sum can be divided by 9. So I use all of those except for number 6 and number 3, but they are valuable shortcuts nonetheless. Okay, let's look at an example. Which of the following is a complete list of the positive factors of 3,477 that are less than 10? All right, so let's start out with number 1, which 1's obviously a factor, but we're not listing positive factors of 1, even though it says a complete list. Weird to me, because not any of the choices. 2, does 2 go into it? And the answer is no, because it's not an even number. It doesn't end in a 0, 2, 4, 6, or 8. Does 3 go into it? If you add the digits, 3 plus 4 plus 7 plus 7, you get 21. Can you divide 21 by 3? You betcha. So 3 works. 4 doesn't work because 2 doesn't. If 2 doesn't work, then none of the even numbers do. So since it is an odd answer, then that means 4 doesn't work, 6 doesn't work, 8 doesn't work. So we're left with 5. 5 doesn't work because it doesn't end in a 5 or a 0. 6 doesn't work because 2 doesn't. 6 only works if 2 and 3 both work. 7, can check a calculator. Actually, we don't need to. Look at our choices for our answers. 3, 2, 4, 3, 8, 3, and 9. So we know 2 and 4 don't work. We know 8 doesn't work. And 9 doesn't work because if you add up the digits of 3, 4, 7, and 7, you get 21. And you can't divide 21 by 9 evenly. So the answer is just 3. Done. Number 2, if A equals 2 squared times 3 times 7 equals 84, how many positive factors does A have? There's lots of cute ways to do this. I'm not going to do it in a cute way. So 1 goes into 84, 84 times. 2 goes into 84, 42 times. 3 goes into 84, 28 times. I mean, just grab a calculator and divide them by numbers. 4 goes into 84, 21 times. 5 doesn't go into it. 6 goes into it. Let's see how many times. 84 divided by 6 goes 14 times. Running out of space. 7 obviously goes into it because it shows that up there that 7 does. 7 goes in 12 times. 8 doesn't, 9 doesn't, 10 doesn't, 11 doesn't, and then you get back to 12. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 positive factors. Remind you what a prime number is. It's a positive integer that only has two factors, two positive factors. So examples 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, prime numbers. Number 3, if x is the sum of all the unique prime factors. When I first did this problem, I misread it because I missed the word unique. X is the sum of the unique prime factors of 54. So 54, we're going to do prime factorization, and x is the sum of the unique numbers, and y is the sum of the unique prime numbers of 76. So y is the sum of the unique for 76. 54, if you break it down into a factor tree, you will find that its prime factors are 2, 3, 3, and 3. 76 is 2 times 2 times 19. So as far as unique factors of 54, there's a 2 and a 3. Unique factors of 76 is a 2 and a 19. The sum of the unique, which is x, is 2 plus 3, which is 5. Sum of the unique ones for 76 is 2 plus 19, which is 21. What is the value of y minus x? That's 21 minus 5, which is 16, which is answer H. Principles of negative numbers. Oh, scratch that. I missed some things up here. Principles of odd and even integers. If you add two even numbers, you get an even number. If you subtract two even numbers, you get an even number. That's what the plus or minus means. You can add or subtract and you get an even answer. If you add or subtract an even and an odd, you get an odd. If you add or subtract an even and an odd, once again, in a different order, you still get an odd. If you add or subtract two odds, you get an even. If you multiply two evens, you get an even. If you multiply an even and an odd, you get an even. If you multiply two odds, you get an odd. Yippee. Number 4, if n is a positive even integer, so n is positive and even, and n divided by 4, n over 4, results in a quotient, that's the answer to division, with a remainder of 2, so you get some number and a remainder of 2. Which of the following expressions is not evenly divisible by 4? Problems like this are easiest if you choose your own number. So we're going to choose a number for n. We're going to pick a number that's even and it's positive, and if you divide it by 4, you get a remainder of 2. I'm going to choose the number 6. 6 is even and it's positive. If you divide 6 by 4, let me just show you, 6 divided by 4 goes one time, and there's a remainder of 2. So 6 is going to work for our n. Now let's check each of these answers for A. We're looking for something that's not divisible by 4. A is going to be 2 times 6, which is 12. Can you divide 12 by 4? You betcha. So that's not the answer. B is 6 minus 2, which is 4. Can you divide that by 4? You betcha. C is 6 plus 1, which is 7. Can you divide 7 by 4? You cannot. So it looks like C is going to be our answer. Let's just check D and E to be sure. D is 6 plus 2, which is 8. You can divide that by 4. E is 3 times 6, which is 18, plus 2, which is 20. So the moral of the story for this problem, and others like it, if you have an opportunity to choose your own number, choose it, and then plug that number into the answers to see which one works. So there you go. Principles of negative numbers. Subtraction of a negative number is equivalent to the addition of a positive number. Here's what that means. X minus a negative 4 is the same as x plus 4. Number 2, addition of a negative number is equivalent to the subtraction of a positive number. Here's what that means. The addition of a negative 4 is the same as the subtraction of 4. 3, multiplication or division involving an odd number of negative numbers always results in a negative number. So what that means, if we have a negative x to an odd exponent, that's going to equal x to the odd exponent, and the answer is going to be negative. Number 4, multiplication or division involving an even number of negative numbers always results in a positive number. So if you have a negative and it's raised to an even exponent, the answer is going to be a positive number to that even exponent. All right, number 5. If n is any positive number, right there's our golden ticket. N is any positive number. I'm going to pick a positive number. I'm going to say n is 2. It's going to make this problem easy. Which of the following must be positive? So here we got negative 2 minus negative 2. So that's going to be negative 2 plus 2, which is 0. Is that positive? It is not. Number 2, negative 2 times a negative 2, which is positive 4. Is that positive? You betcha. Number 3, remember we're putting 2 in for each of these. It's 2 divided by negative 2 times negative 2. That's going to be 2 divided by 4, which is 1/2. Yes, that's positive. So 2 and 3 are both true. There you go. Finished. Number 6. If x and y are negative integers, and x minus y divided by 2 is 1, what is the least possible value of xy? Well, when you multiply numbers together that are integers, the smaller the numbers, the smaller the product. So we want as smaller numbers as we can for this problem. So if we try to solve this equation for x, we multiply both sides by 2, and then add y to both sides. We get x equals y plus 2. So that tells us that whatever y is, x is 2 bigger than that. So let's say that we think, well, maybe, remember, we want to choose small numbers that are negative. Let's say we think, well, maybe y is negative 1. That's the smallest negative integer you can get. Let's see if that works. If y equals negative 1, then we're going to have x equals negative 1 plus 2. That would give us that x equals 1. That can't work because it says x and y are both negative. But what if we choose x to be, if we choose y to be the next biggest or smallest, depending on your perspective, negative number? Well, then that would be x equals negative 2 plus 2, and you get x equals 0. Also doesn't work because you have to have, both of them have to be negative integers. So let's try y is negative 3. It's going to be x equals negative 3 plus 2, so x equals negative 1. So that works. So to answer the question, this was step 1. We did this second, and then this, and then this. To answer the question, what is x times y? Well, that's negative 1 times negative 3, which is positive 3, which is j.